I was standing in my own driveway, looking at two suitcases that held everything I owned in that house. My phone kept buzzing with Facebook notifications. I looked up and saw Megan standing in the window, arms crossed, waiting for me to fall to my knees and beg for forgiveness, like I always did. But something was different this time. I smiled, and that smile confused her more than anything I had ever done. Let me take you back 2 years, and you will understand why. Before we dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from today. Drop your location in the comments. If you have ever been in a relationship that made you question your own sanity, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let me take you back to where this all started, and you will understand why that smile was the first real one I had in months. 2 years ago, my life changed in a coffee shop in downtown Portland. I was sitting at a small table by the window, working on some code for a project that was due the next week. I had my headphones in, completely focused, when I noticed someone sit down at the table next to mine. I glanced over and saw her, Megan. She had curly brown hair that fell just past her shoulders, bright blue eyes that seemed to catch every bit of light in the room, and a smile that made me forget what I was working on. She caught me looking, and instead of turning away, she smiled wider. She pointed at my laptop and said something. I took out my headphones and asked her to repeat it. She said she liked my shirt. It was just a simple gray Henley, nothing special. But the way she said it made me feel like I was wearing something designed by the most expensive brand in the world. We started talking. She told me she worked in marketing for a cosmetics company downtown. She loved books, especially mysteries. She had just moved to Portland from California 6 months ago and was still figuring out the city. I told her about my job as a software engineer, about how I spent most of my weekends hiking or playing basketball with my friends. She listened like everything I said was the most interesting thing she had ever heard. 3 hours passed like 3 minutes. When she finally had to leave, she gave me her phone number without me even asking. She said she wanted to see me again. I could not believe my luck. That first date turned into a second, then a third. Within 2 weeks, we were officially together. She was everything I thought I wanted. She texted me good morning every day with little messages that made me smile. She cooked dinner for me on Friday nights, and we would watch movies together on my couch until we fell asleep. She seemed genuinely interested in my life, my family, my dreams. After 6 months, I introduced her to my mother. Mom invited us over for Sunday dinner, and Megan was perfect. She complimented the food, asked about family photos on the wall, and helped with the dishes without being asked. When we left, my mom hugged me and whispered that she really liked her. That meant everything to me. A week later, Megan moved into my apartment. It felt like the natural next step. She said she had never been this happy with anyone before. She posted pictures of us on Facebook with captions about finding her soulmate. I believed every word. I thought I had found the woman I was going to marry. Then came the first sign. I just did not recognize it at the time. It was a Thursday night about 7 months into our relationship. My team at work had a critical deadline, and we had to stay late for a meeting that ran until 8 in the evening. My phone was on silent because we were presenting to the client. When I finally checked it after the meeting, I had 7 missed calls from Megan. I drove home as fast as I could, worried something terrible had happened. When I walked through the door, I found her sitting on the couch in the dark. The only light came from her phone screen. Her face was cold, expressionless. She asked me where I had been. I explained about the meeting, showed her my calendar with the appointment, even offered to let her call my manager to confirm. She did not care about any of that. She said if I really loved her, I would have found a way to call her back. I tried to explain that I could not just step out of a client presentation, but she was not listening. She went to bed without saying another word to me. The next morning, I woke up to find she had already left for work. I checked my phone and saw a Facebook notification. Megan had posted a status at 2 in the morning. It said, "When someone shows you they do not prioritize you, believe them." The comments were full of her friends asking what happened. sending heart emojis telling her she deserved better. When someone asked directly what was wrong, she just replied that it was life lessons. I felt sick reading it. Everyone who saw that post would think I had done something terrible. I had not done anything except my job. But instead of talking to her about it, I did what I would do many times over the next 2 years. I bought flowers on my way home from work and apologized for something I had not done wrong. Megan accepted the apology with a small smile. She said she forgave me, but then added that I should not let it happen again. From that day forward, I made sure to always answer her calls immediately, no matter what I was doing, even if I was in a meeting, even if I was driving. I did not want to see another post like that. Looking back now, I can see that was the moment the cage started to form around me. But at the time, I told myself it was just because she loved me so much. I told myself I should be grateful someone cared that deeply. I was so wrong. After we had been living together for about a year, Megan brought up the idea of combining our bank accounts. She said couples who really trust each other share everything. She said it would make paying bills easier and show that we were truly committed to our future together. I did not think much of it. I trusted her completely. So we went to the bank together and opened a joint account. Both our paychecks would go in there from now on. Within the first month, I realized what I had actually agreed to. I bought a new graphics card for my computer. It cost $150, which was not a small amount, but also not crazy for someone with my salary. That night, Megan sat me down and asked why I had not consulted her before making the purchase. She said we were supposed to make financial decisions together now. I apologized and said I would ask next time, and I did. From then on, I asked permission before buying anything, a new pair of running shoes, a birthday gift for my mother, even lunch with coworkers. Everything had to be approved. Meanwhile, Megan came home one day with a new designer handbag. It cost $400. When I mentioned that she had not asked me about it, she looked at me like I had said something ridiculous. She said it was on sale, and she deserved to treat herself sometimes. The conversation ended there. That was the first type of control. The second was worse. I had a group of friends from college, Derek, Marcus, and James. We had known each other for over 10 years. Every Saturday morning we played basketball at the community center, then grabbed lunch together. It was my favorite part of the week, a chance to just be myself, without any pressure. Megan started making comments about these Saturday mornings. At first they were small. She would sigh when I got ready to leave and say she wished I wanted to spend time with her instead. Then the comments got sharper. She asked why my friends were more important than her. She said a real partner would choose to be with their girlfriend on the weekend. One Saturday I came home from basketball to find her crying on the couch. When I asked what was wrong, she said nothing, then went to our bedroom and closed the door. An hour later, she posted on Facebook. The status said, "Feeling alone even when you are in a relationship is the worst kind of lonely." 143 people liked it. Dozens of comments poured in from her friends, all of them offering sympathy, all of them assuming I had done something awful. I stopped going to basketball as often, once a month, then barely at all. It was easier than dealing with the aftermath. Derek called me one night after I had canceled on the group for the third time in a row. He did not waste time with small talk. He said I had changed. He said Megan was isolating me from everyone who cared about me. I defended her. I said she just needed more attention and that I should be a better boyfriend. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Then Derek said he hoped I would wake up before it was too late. I told him he did not understand and hung up. After that call, I barely spoke to Derek or the others. Megan had become my whole world, and I did not even realize how small that world had gotten. The third type of control was the most painful. Megan started criticizing me in front of other people. My mother turned 60 that spring, and my sister organized a big party for her. Family, old friends, neighbors. About 40 people gathered in my mother's backyard on a warm Saturday afternoon. Megan and I arrived together, and at first everything seemed fine. Then, during dinner, someone asked how Megan and I had been doing. Before I could answer, Megan launched into a story about how I had forgotten our one-year anniversary. She told it like it was a funny anecdote, laughing, as she described how clueless I had been, how she had to remind me 3 times, how I still almost forgot to make dinner reservations. Everyone laughed along with her. I sat there with a frozen smile on my face, feeling about 2 inches tall. The worst part was that the story was not even true. I had not forgotten our anniversary. I had planned a surprise picnic, but she had found out about it early and gotten upset that I had not told her. Somehow, in her retelling, I became the forgetful idiot who did not care. After the party, my mother pulled me aside. She took my hands in hers and looked at me with worried eyes. She asked if I was happy. I said yes, but my voice must not have sounded convincing because she just squeezed my hands tighter. She said she only wanted me to be treated well. I told her everything was fine and changed the subject. It was not fine. But I did not know how to admit that even to myself. The pattern with social media continued throughout our entire relationship. Every argument, every disagreement, every moment where I did not immediately give Megan what she wanted resulted in another vague post online. Some people never grow up. Real men take responsibility for their mistakes. Actions speak louder than words, and some people are screaming. She never used my name, but everyone knew who she was talking about. I had to read comments from strangers analyzing our relationship, taking her side, without knowing a single fact. I learned to apologize as quickly as possible, just to make her delete the posts before too many people saw them. For almost 2 years, this was my life. I was controlled, criticized, and publicly shamed whenever I stepped out of line. And I accepted it because I thought that was what love looked like. I thought her jealousy meant she cared. I thought her need to know where I was at all times was just her way of showing affection. I was wrong about everything. The breaking point came on an ordinary Tuesday. My team at work had just finished a major project that we had been working on for 3 months. There were 5 of us on the team, and our manager suggested we all go out for a celebratory dinner. The restaurant was an Italian place about 20 minutes from the office. One of my teammates was a woman named Rachel. She was a senior developer who had been with the company for almost 8 years. We had worked closely on this project because our areas overlapped the most. She was professional, talented, and at least 15 years older than me. The idea that there was anything romantic between us was laughable. Before I left for dinner, I texted Megan to let her know where I was going and who would be there. She replied with a single word, "Fine." I knew that tone. But I had done nothing wrong, and I was not going to skip my team dinner because of her insecurity. At the restaurant, we ordered pasta and wine and talked about everything except work. It felt good to relax after 3 months of intense deadlines. At one point, someone pulled out a phone and snapped a group photo for LinkedIn. We were all sitting around a round table. Rachel happened to be in the seat next to mine. In the photo, we were both laughing at something Marcus had said. I got home around 10 that night. When I walked through the door, I found Megan sitting in the living room. Her laptop was open on the coffee table, and on the screen was the photo from dinner. One of my co-workers had already posted it. She did not greet me. She just pointed at the screen and asked who Rachel was and why I was sitting so close to her. I explained that Rachel was a colleague, that we had been working together on the project for months, that the seating was random. Megan was not interested in explanations. She said I had never mentioned Rachel before. She said I must have been hiding her. I pointed out that I had mentioned my team members many times, but Megan shook her head. She said if Rachel was not important, I would have talked about her specifically, the fact that I had not proved I was being secretive. The argument escalated quickly. Megan started crying, accusing me of gaslighting her. She said everyone had warned her about men like me. I asked what that meant, and she just kept repeating that I knew what I had done. But here is the thing. I had not done anything. Something shifted inside me at that moment. For 2 years I had apologized for things I did not do. I had isolated myself from friends. I had given up control of my finances, my time, my self-respect. And for what to be accused of cheating because I sat next to a coworker at a group dinner, I told Megan I had done nothing wrong and I was not going to apologize for doing my job. She stared at me like I had grown a second head. In 2 years, I had never stood up to her like that. She was used to me backing down, giving in, doing whatever it took to restore peace. She said I had changed. She said I used to care about her feelings. I told her I did care, but I also cared about the truth. That only made her angrier. Finally, she delivered her ultimatum. She said if I did not admit I was wrong, she would tell everyone what kind of person I really was. I asked what kind of person that was. She said the word like it was a weapon. Toxic. She called me toxic. I stood there for a long moment looking at this woman I had given everything to. Then I said something that surprised us both. I said, maybe I was. I walked into the bedroom and closed the door behind me. I did not slam it. I did not yell. I just needed to be alone. The next morning, I woke up to an empty apartment. Megan had already left for work. I made coffee and checked my phone. There were dozens of notifications. My stomach dropped. Megan had posted at 2 in the morning. The status was long. Walk away from toxic men. Walk away from those who make you feel crazy for having feelings. Walk away from those who choose others over you. Your peace is more important than their ego. Over 100 people had already liked it. The comments were full of support. You deserve better, Queen. Stay strong. I am here if you need me. When someone asked what happened, Megan had replied that some things were better left unsaid. I read the post several times. I thought about all the posts that had come before it, all the times I had rushed to apologize so she would take them down. I thought about Derek warning me. I thought about my mother asking if I was happy. For the first time, I really heard what Megan was saying. Walk away from toxic men. She was right. Someone did need to walk away. But it was not her. I picked up my phone and went to her post. My thumb hovered over the screen for just a second. Then I pressed like. And in the comments I wrote 2 words, I agree. I put my phone down and went back to drinking my coffee. 30 minutes later, my phone started exploding. Megan called 15 times. I did not answer. Text messages poured in. She demanded to know what I was doing. She told me to delete the comment immediately. She said I was embarrassing her. She said I would regret this. I did not respond to any of them. Around noon, I heard her car pull into the driveway. The front door flew open and Megan stormed in. Her face was red, her eyes wild. She found me sitting on the couch reading a book, completely calm. She screamed at me, asking if I thought this was funny. I said no. I told her I thought it was honest. She stared at me for a moment, then something shifted in her expression. She ran to the bedroom. I heard drawers opening and closing, things being thrown around. A few minutes later, she emerged, dragging 2 large suitcases. My suitcases. She stuffed my clothes inside without folding them. Shirts, pants, everything mixed together. Then she dragged the suitcases out the front door and left them at the end of the driveway. She pulled out her phone, took a picture, and posted it to Facebook with a caption, "Start walking." She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, waiting. This was her final move, her biggest threat. She expected me to break down. She expected me to apologize, to beg her to let me stay, to promise I would never embarrass her again. I walked outside and looked at the suitcases sitting on the concrete. I looked up at the window, where Megan was now watching her phone still in her hand, probably ready to record my humiliation, and I smiled. Not a bitter smile or a sarcastic one, a genuine smile. Because in that moment I realized I was free. I picked up both suitcases, turned around, and started walking down the street. I did not look back, not once. I called Derek from the sidewalk 3 blocks away. I had not talked to him in almost a year, not since he tried to warn me about Megan. I did not know if he would even answer. He picked up on the second ring. I told him I needed a place to stay. He did not ask any questions. He did not say, "I told you so." He just gave me his address and said the guest room was mine for as long as I needed. That first night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling of Derek's spare room. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides. But underneath that emptiness, there was something else. Relief. For the first time in 2 years, I did not have to worry about saying the wrong thing, or sitting next to the wrong person, or spending my own money without permission. On social media, Megan's post with my suitcases was getting hundreds of reactions. But something interesting started happening in the comments. People began asking questions. Wait, he agreed with her and left. What exactly did he do wrong? Someone pointed out that liking your girlfriend's post about toxic men and then peacefully leaving did not exactly scream toxic behavior. Megan started deleting comments. Then she made her profile private. The first week was the hardest. My phone buzzed constantly. Megan called, alternating between furious and tearful. She said she was sorry. She said she did not mean it. She said I had taken things too far, and now everyone was asking her questions. She said if I came back, we could work it out. I almost gave in. Several times I had my finger on the button to call her back. Old habits are hard to break. Derek sat with me one of those nights when I was wavering. He asked me to remember how I had felt in that relationship. Not the good moments at the beginning, but the day-to-day reality, the constant anxiety, the walking on eggshells, the feeling that nothing I did was ever good enough. He said that was not love, that was control. I started seeing a therapist in my second week of freedom. I had never done that before. Talking to a stranger about my feelings felt strange at first, but she helped me understand things I had never considered. She taught me about emotional manipulation. She explained how abusers often accuse their victims of the very things they themselves are doing. She helped me see that I had been gaslit for 2 years. Slowly, I started to rebuild my life. I reconnected with Marcus and James. They welcomed me back without judgment. Saturday basketball became part of my routine again. I had forgotten how good it felt to run up and down the court, to laugh with my friends, to just be myself. After 3 months, I moved into my own apartment. It was small, just a 1-bedroom on the east side of the city, but it was mine. I decorated it exactly how I wanted. I bought things without asking anyone's permission. I stayed out late without explaining myself to anyone. My mother came to visit me in the new place. She walked around the small space, touching things, looking at the photos I had hung on the walls. Then she hugged me tight and said with tears in her eyes that she had her son back. I thought a lot about Megan during those months. Not with anger, though I had plenty of reasons to be angry. I thought about how she became the person she was. I wondered what happened in her past that made her need to control everyone around her. I felt sad for her in a way. She was trapped in patterns she probably did not even recognize. But here is what I learned. I could not save her. I could not love her enough to fix whatever was broken inside her, and trying to do so had nearly destroyed me. That is the lesson I want to leave you with. Love should not require you to erase yourself. Caring about someone does not mean accepting abuse. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is agree with someone and walk away. Not because they were right about you, but because staying would eventually prove them right. Megan called me toxic, and maybe in some ways I was. I was toxic to my own well-being every time I stayed. I was toxic to my own growth every time I apologized for things I did not do. Walking away was not giving up. It was finally choosing myself. Today, I am still single. I am not in a rush to change that. I have learned to recognize red flags that I used to ignore. I have learned that my time, my money, and my peace of mind are not things to be controlled by anyone else. I have learned that the right person will never make me feel small for having a life outside of our relationship. Sometimes I think about that moment in the driveway, the suitcases on the concrete, Megan waiting for me to crumble, and I think about how different my life would be if I had done what she expected, but I did not. I picked up those suitcases and I started walking. It was the longest walk home I ever took, but it led me back to myself. And honestly, that is the best place I have ever been. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because staying was hurting you? What helped you find the strength to leave? Drop your story in the comments. Your experience might help someone else who is going through the same thing right now. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find this channel. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this one, and share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being part of this community. Remember that your peace is worth protecting. No relationship is worth losing yourself over. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one.